So nice to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm happy you're feeling better.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I am. I'm feeling better and better every day. Is
And off
Sharon
work
coming?
stuff.
Oh,
I'm
sure.
sorry?
No, nothing.
Oh, okay.
I'm turning off my work computer.
Wonderful. That's great. So let's, Carrie, let's give folks like another minute or two because I know that that's happened last time. And while we're waiting, Renee, Ashley, and Sharon, I'd love to hear if you have been trying out any of the things we've been learning, or if anything has come up for you where you've like noticed, oh, that's the stress response cycle, or
Hmm. Gotta think.
Hi, this is Ashley. I'm actually just an intern observing the interpreter.
oh, very cool. Welcome, Ashley.
And hopefully you'll learn something too.
Trying to think.
I missed the last couple, so no, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm
No worries.
excited to be here today.
I'm so glad you're here too.
Thanks.
Well, it's another Monday. Here we are.
I can say something that I've been trying to do.
I'd love to hear it.
I'm trying to be more intentional about things and noticing things. Like when I'm eating, I'm trying to like stop and not like work at the same time. It's like stop. Look at what I'm eating, taste it, feel it in my mouth, chew it, that kind of thing. Trying to be more intentional and aware and know when to stop eating and that kind of thing. I'm trying. I mean, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes you get in a rush, but I'm kind of noticing opportunities when I can do that. If I'm outside with my dog and my dog's running around, instead of just standing there, I'm really looking, like feeling my feet on the earth, looking around at the nature and the birds and
Right.
really noticing things. So,
That's great. Hi, Stephanie. Yeah, I think, one thing that I often will mention to folks who are just getting into mindfulness is to use their five senses, if they're, what's available to them. So, feeling the sun on your skin, seeing the shadows created by the sun, as you can take one thing and where is this impacting me in my system. So can I feel it on my skin? Can I see it? Is there a smell? Post COVID for me, that's been really interesting, noticing I don't smell anything and how much we've taken that, you take that for granted as a sense that we sort of let sort of fall to the wayside, but it's very important. And
is it starting to come back now, or do you still don't have the sense of smell?
I still have no sense of smell, none at all. And it's very strange. Like you realize it leaves you a little bit vulnerable because I can't smell bad food. I can't smell smoke if something were burning or gas. It's really interesting. It's really very interesting. So, oh, we lost someone, I think.
Lori, where'd you go?
Hopefully she'll try to come back.
Yeah.
All right, well, we will get started because I do want to make sure I am courteous of everyone's time.
Oh, we lost Stephanie too. They both work together, so something must have gone on.
Oh, no.
Yeah, maybe they'll be back
All right.
when they take care of their emergency.
All right, can everybody still see me and Heidi?
Yes.
I don't care if they see me. I just want them to see Heidi. I can't see anyone, so it's weird, but all right. So I know that I've got Renee here, and who else is still with us?
Sharon?
Sharon, I'm here.
Awesome. Great. All right, well, welcome to our workshop number 3. So we're wrapping things up with our stress management series. And today we're going to focus on managing the stressors. So our first workshop, we really sort of worked on understanding the difference between stress and stressors. The second workshop, we talked about the stress response and how to manage that. So today we're going to go back to that workshop number 1 and talk about the stressors that cause the stress and what to do about stressors that we can control and stressors that we cannot control. I know, let's make it more complicated, right? So all right, so as we have been doing, let's start with a little bit of introductions. So you can either do this in the chat. Lori is joining us. Welcome, Lori. I don't know how I've got this set up sort of oddly, but I can't see anyone but Carrie. So that's okay. I love looking at Carrie, but
everybody probably has their cameras off.
Okay. So Carrie, if you could be my wingman, and if there's something in the chat that I need to see, let me know.
Okay. Yep. There's nothing there now.
Okay. Awesome. So let's just take a moment. And again, you can put this in the chat or you can unmute and I'd love to hear your voice. Name your name and your favorite first sign of spring. So I will tell you I'm Heather, again, still here, same gal, same place. And I work for the YWCA, and I am the Wellness and Membership Director as well as our Mindfulness Educator. And I was outside walking my dog around the house today, and I saw the first buds of flowers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it made me so happy. So that's my favorite first sign of spring. So let's hear it. Do you have a first sign of spring that you have noticed in the last couple of days?
Well, this is Carrie. I haven't noticed it yet, but that would be my favorite first sign of spring, seeing the flowers come up. And just the warmth, the change in the weather is just really nice. And the light too. It's light. Yeah.
Hi, this is Lori. I am right with the two of you. First sign of spring is the flowers, although I haven't seen any either, but it's a wonderful feeling when you see some flowers. You know the warm weather's here and summer's coming.
Agreed.
This is Renee. My favorite is the longer days. I like to be outside. So when we've had winter and it's gotten dark at 4 o'clock when I normally get off, all I want to do is hibernate. So the longer days, I like to be outside sitting on my deck.
Lovely. I am right there with you.
This is Sharon. I like hearing the birds.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a good one.
Yes, I agree.
All right. Anything else? Anyone else want to share? Remember, you can always pass. Totally fine. All right. We will move on. So as we have made it our practice, we're going to have a first little soft landing together to just sort of maybe shake off a little bit of the day and just really land together in this moment so we can learn from each other and maybe also learn a new little mindfulness technique, a little stress management technique that can help us out. So I love this as my little way of managing tech neck. So you don't have to raise your hand if you don't want to, but I'm going to raise both of my hands that I definitely deal with tech neck. And this is generally caused by, looking down at our phones while we're texting, reaching forward and typing a lot, not being mindful of the fact that we generally let our head come forward and then down, which increases the weight of our head 3-fold. So we go from having a 12-pound head to a 36-pound head. And so I love these little practices. We'll do them together. And of course, remember, you can always just watch or, hang out and wait for us to come back to you. But we'll start with our over-the-shoulder glance. So we're just going to get nice and tall in our chair, find our feet on the floor. You might want to move your feet a little bit, find a nice stance on the floor with the feet. We're sitting in our chairs, and sort of sit down into the chair and lift the top of your head, this part, the crown of your head, right up towards the ceiling. Feel yourself get nice and tall. And we're just going to move our head and glance over our shoulder in one direction, and then look over our shoulder in the other direction. And you can go back and forth, maybe noticing if there's any resistance, and be very gentle, just glancing over the shoulder. Great. And hopefully you can feel that this is stretching the back of your neck, and it feels really nice. All right, the next one we're going to do is we'll take our arms down by our side. So if you're in a chair with armrests, you can put your arms over the armrests, or just right down by your side. We're going to make fists with our hands and pull our shoulders up towards our earlobes. So really tight fists. And we're going to inhale, shoulders scrunching up. And then as we exhale, we're going to open our fists and draw the shoulders down and sigh it out. So let's try that 2 times together. So fists, inhale, shoulders scrunch. Inhale, sigh it out. Open the hands, open the fists, push the shoulders down. One more time. Inhale, make a fist, pull those shoulders up. Inhale and exhale it out. Beautiful job. Another one I call angel wing circles, because sometimes we'll do these shoulder circles and we keep our attention on the shoulder caps. But we're going to bring our attention to those, my grandmother used to call them angel wings in the back, so those shoulder blades, right? And that just helps us to make this movement bigger and bring it to the upper back, where a lot of that tension, that ice pick in the back sort of feeling. So we're going to move the shoulders, but instead of focusing on the shoulder caps, we're going to focus on those angel wings in the back. And we really only need to do these backward circles, because this is helping us to open up the front of our body, which generally is where we get a little bit pulled in. So we're just going to open like this, really nice. Maybe one more time. Man, I'm glad we're doing this. I needed it. And then we'll finish up with what I call soft heart, strong back. So we're going to bring our hands together and then open the fingers nice and wide. Roll those angel wings back and down and press into your palms of your hands, right up to the tops of your fingertips. So you're going to start to maybe feel some spiciness in the arms, and we're building some strength, and we're also just kind of creating some tension that we can let go, which will feel really good. So take a deep breath. We're stretching the wrists, and now we're going to start to peel the hands away, thumbs and pinkies, until we just have those middle fingers touching, and then bring the backs of the hands together and lower the elbows. Now we're stretching the other side of the wrist. Feels really good. And then, this is my favorite part, we're going to make that little heart and feel our strong back with our soft heart. And share the heart with everyone. Love, love, love. And so that's my remedy for tech neck. I hope you feel better. Does anybody feel better in the neck and shoulders? Thumbs up?
Oh, yes, definitely. Yep.
Great. So you can do that anytime. Nobody would wonder what you're doing. You're just looking over your shoulder. All right. And a quick reminder, now that we are feeling connected and here, this is a trauma-sensitive training. So you are always welcome to come and go as you please. I can't even see who's here, so there is no judgment. If you need to take a break, go to the bathroom, come and go. I will let you right back in. I don't even keep track of who's here. So Just enjoy this and stay for what's working for you, knowing that this is recorded and so it'll be available later. Alrighty? Excellent. If you have any questions about that or anything comes up for you as we move through the material that you need more information about, or you just have a squirrely feeling, by all means, stop me, ask a question. I'd much prefer to have a dialogue than to have somebody not know, what's going on, how they're feeling. All right. Let's get into it. So the goals for today are, we've talked about, briefly before we got started, was there success with any of these strategies or information we learned last time? We'll review the difference between stressors and stress and review the stress response. That's the information that's gotten us to here. Then we'll start with new material, explore the difference between stressors you can control and stressors you can't control. We'll learn a little brain science and meet your monitor. Some empowered strategies for managing any stressor, and 3 experiential stress management techniques. Looks like I forgot to finish this. So the stress must have gotten to me. All right, any questions about any of that? Okay, so quick review. Remember that a stressor is the thing that we encounter, like work, can be a stressor, a deadline at work, a lion on safari, our worldwide pandemic, an act of nature, a traumatic event. Those are stressors that we face all the time. Here and there, big and small, they're coming at us 24/7. Those stressors create the stress. The stress creates the stress response. So now we're moving through our circle here to the stress response of fight, flight, or freeze, and sometimes fawning, which we talked about last week. The stress response creates stress symptoms. We went over those last week of physical, emotional, cognitive, and behavioral. What we like to do is move those stress responses, move through the symptoms by using self-care techniques of exercise, connection, sleep, creativity. We went through a bunch of those last week with the goal of moving back towards safety. Our autonomic nervous system is wired to help us move through the stress response back to safety. Stress response cycle starts and ends at safety. If you look down at the bottom of our circle here, you'll remember that if we get stuck between the symptoms and the resolution through self-care, we get stuck. This is where trauma, burnout, and toxic stress can happen. So I'm going to pause for a moment and see if anyone has any questions, needs anything clarified before we move on. Doing good? Carrie, how's the chat looking?
There is nothing there in the chat, so everybody's good.
All right, excellent. Let's move on. So now that we've gotten through all of that, we'll learn another stress management technique. This is one of my favorites. Now, it might be a little difficult because Heidi is going to be interpreting for us, but I think between watching her and watching me, we'll get it. So Heidi, you can continue to translate and I will do the technique. So this is called finger breathing. Using our breath to manage our stress response can really be helpful. And I like this one in particular because it's super easy to teach to people of all ages. So kids love this one and you can do it anytime, anywhere. Our breath is a way of using our autonomic nervous system to ground us, to slow down, to notice the stress response, and then move through it back to safety. So if you take your hand and open it up, you've got 5 little peaks and valleys here that you can use to ground yourself for inhaling and exhaling. So you take one of your other fingers and you can start at any side of your hand, it doesn't matter. And as we go up the finger, we're going to inhale. And as we go down the finger, we're going to exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, exhale. Go on back the other way. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Last one, inhale and exhale. I really like this because it brings in a few different senses. So we're using that autonomic system of breath, but we're also feeling on our skin this nice affectionate feeling of like, oh yeah, one hand on the other, I'm here, I'm grounded, I'm safe. And you can just do 5, or you can go back to do 10. You can do it again for 15. So it's a really nice, we've always got this with us, this nice grounding technique. If anyone wants to take a moment, let me know what they thought about that.
Oh, did you freeze for everybody or just for me? Oh, there you are. Oh, Sharon in the chat box says, I really like that technique. And I'm thinking, this is Carrie, I'm thinking this would be great for if you're typing an email, like somebody just typed you a nasty email and you type one back to them and it's like, oh wait, don't send it yet. Wait, let me get my hand out. Let me breathe, get my 10 breaths in. Okay, let me reread that email now and change it a little. That's how I see this coming in handy for me.
I am stealing that. Absolutely. Carrie, that is marvelous.
And Renee said in the chat, it makes me slow down and focus.
It's so true. I mean, it gives us a lot to look, we're touching, so we're feeling that skin on skin. We're looking, we're breathing. That's why I love this technique. And it's just so easy to teach to the kids in your classroom or children that are in your life. Really so easy to do. Thanks everyone, that was really fun. All right, new material. Are we ready? So we're going to go into a little bit of brain science, and this is my favorite way to think about the brain. So a teacher of mine uses this to talk about the brain to preschool and school-age children, but I use it for everyone. I think it's the best way to think about the brain for adults, for kids. So this is really oversimplified, but we want to think about our brain as having the prefrontal cortex, which is the newer part of our brain, where we do all the complicated human stuff of math and science and relationships and all that great human stuff. The back of our brain is where we have the amygdala, and this is the ancient part of our brain that is really sort of what people are referring to as that lizard brain, and it's really focused on survival. Get through the day with as many fingers and toes as possible, in as good a condition as we can, right? So safety, safety, safety. A nice way to think about these two pieces of the brain are as a wise owl in the front and a guard dog in the back. So if you have any, that you interact with a dog, you know that they are really just focused on being safe. My dog is just checking the doors, right? He's always looking. If something's coming, what does he do? He barks. So if he perceives any kind of threat to his safety, to our safety, his pack's safety, somebody he loves, he's going to warn us with a good bark. When the dog starts to bark, the owl flies away. When our amygdala gets hijacked by a threat, its only concern is barking, awareness to the threat, and get to safety. I like to think about the wise owl flying away because it helps me to understand why it's so difficult for me to think logically when I'm stressed. When I perceive a threat to my safety or to my well-being or those that I love or care about, this could be at work, this could be coworkers, it feels like the thinking part of my brain just flies away, and it does. And we get really focused on safety. So I like to show this to folks because then if you think about it, what's the best way to calm a barking dog? Well, certainly not yelling at it,
Oops,
right?
that's what I do. It doesn't work though. It does not work.
It doesn't work. I only yell at my dog when they're licking because I can't stand the sound. Right? But they bark and we go, stop it, stop it. Do they stop? No, they keep barking, right? So a dog that's really overwhelmed, some of the best ways to calm that dog are what we learned last week. Some of the best ways to calm ourselves. Petting the dog, right? Connecting with the dog, distracting the dog. Here's a treat, right? Or you're safe. Giving them a hug, maybe taking them out for a run and getting them to move through that stress response cycle, right? When we do that with ourselves, isn't it amazing? The wise owl comes back. And as we are calmed, as we move through the stress response cycle, that logical, connecting, present part of our brain comes back. I really like to get a firm feeling on this, especially when I'm dealing with kids, because even when my kids were little, if they sort of got hijacked by the barking dog, they felt unsafe, I did not always respond with the best ways to help them move through the stress response cycle. Sometimes I yelled at them because I felt overwhelmed. Sometimes I sent them to their room, and I'm not giving parenting advice. I'm just saying that what some of the brain researchers say is to connect and then redirect. Because if we try to redirect first, we're just talking to the barking dog. And the same is true for us. So sometimes when we get overwhelmed, I don't know about you, but I'll be like, oh, that was stupid. Come on, dumb. This is my self-talk inside, right? I need to connect first, get that wise owl back, and then redirect. Any questions, thoughts, or comments about this?
That is so visual. I love that. I mean, it makes so much sense. And I love that. That's perfect. Thank you for using the broken down version for us.
Listen, it's what works for me too. All right. So everyone's feeling that? Good. We'll move on. So if any questions come up, please stop me right away. Okay. So a little bit, we're going to get a little more technical about the brain, and I'm not a neuroscientist, so that's why I love these fun and simple ways to think about the brain. So you've got this part of your prefrontal cortex that has a really strange name, and I cannot find my notes, so we're just going to call it the velocity. I can't even remember now. I'll have to send it in the PDF. But it's got a really complicated name, and I just call it the monitor. Now, if this looks familiar, if you've ever watched the Disney or the Pixar movie Inside Out, this is Joy, and she functions basically as the monitor. The monitor has a few goals, okay? The monitor keeps track of a goal you might have, how much effort you are investing in meeting the goal, and how much progress you are making toward meeting the goal. So this is where a lot of our stressors and stress come into play, right? As humans, we're pretty goal-orientated. We want to get something done. We have a goal for the deadline. We have a goal to stay safe, right? This is really how we are motivated, is by goals. So this monitor keeps track of the goal, how much effort, and how much progress. Any questions about that? Okay, the monitor gets really twisted up when we start not seeing progress towards a goal we are efforting toward. So you can imagine Joy sort of turning into the rage monster, that little red guy who kind of starts jumping up and down when things are not going the way we had thought they would. So I'm going to tell you a little story. This is about managing stressors because the monitor is really concerned with whether we can control or not control different stressors. A few years ago, a very dear and lovely friend of mine gave me a super, super fancy coffee machine, and I love it. The problem with this coffee machine, if there is such a thing, is that it uses these really fancy pods. If you are guessing that I have an espresso machine, you are correct. And it's lovely. Most of the time, I am on my game and I will order the pods through the mail so that I can pick exactly the ones that I want, and they come to my house and I'm super thrilled. Sometimes life gets in the way and I forget to order the pods. And I notice that I only have 1 or 2 pods left, and I can feel the panic start to rise. My dog starts to bark and I'm getting very nervous about not having my special coffee. So there's a remedy. At the West Farms Mall, there's a little kiosk where they sell these pods. So if I'm in a real pickle, I can plan a trip to the mall to get my pods and I'll be safe. So from my house to the mall is about 20 minutes. It takes me about 20 minutes to park, get in, buy my pods, and get back out to my car, 20 minutes home. So if the kiosk opens at 10 and I leave my house at 9:40, I get there at 10, I'm out of there by 10:20, I can be back to my house enjoying my hot coffee before 11 o'clock. Sounds like a great plan, right? Everything's taken care of. So what if that's my goal, right? My goal is to get the pods and get back and drink my coffee. Things happen though, right? So this particular time that I remember, now I'm going to elaborate a little bit here. That was my plan, and I got into my car and I noticed I didn't have any gas. Okay, there's a gas station down the road. I can analyze the problem. So if this is stressors I can control, and I can do something called planful problem solving. So I can problem solve on the fly, and I can also set up some things to make sure that my plan goes as planned. So maybe I set an alarm on my phone to remind me, time to get in the car, so I can get back in time to get to my doctor's appointment and have my coffee. Then I get in the car, there's no gas. Okay, that'll add 10 minutes, no problem. My monitor is all right with this. We're still pretty much on plan. Then I get on the highway. There's a little bit of traffic. It's not too bad, a little stop and go, so maybe that adds 5 minutes. The monitor's like, that's okay. We're slowing down, but we're still making progress. Remember, the monitor is looking for progress. So monitor's still okay. Then I get to the mall and I forgot that it's the week before Christmas, so there's no parking. I know I'm not going to be there long, so I make a terrible decision, and I park in the handicap. Nobody's going to see me. There's 5 other ones, and I make a terrible decision and I park there. I run inside. My monitor is not feeling so good because now I made a decision that's not in alignment with my values, and the monitor is very concerned about my values as well. Starting to get a little annoyed. I'm starting to feel, right, a little bit of stress. Maybe there's some feeling on my heart and I don't like what I just did. I run into the kiosk. I'm trying to move as fast as I can. And the pods that I want aren't there. They're out of them. So now I have to quickly decide what ones I do want. Now this is adding stress. I'm not feeling good about this. My monitor is really starting to get twisted up. I get the pods, I go back out to the car, and I've got a ticket because I parked in the handicap, as I well deserved. Now my monitor starts to lose it. This is not going as planned. Now this trip to the mall is costing me another couple $100. All right, fine. I'm going to get in the car. I'm going to try to get as much of this plan rescued as possible. And I hit stopped traffic. I'm not going to make it home in time to get to my doctor's office, and my monitor loses it. I'm not present, my dog is barking, my stress is out of control, I'm sweating, I'm a mess, right? So what could I have done? Well, anybody want to take some guesses at how I could have done some better planful problem solving? Come on, I know you guys have some ideas on how I could have done this better.
Oh, this is Carrie. I just wanted to say I've experienced that before, but not with that story exactly. But so I know what I did, but I'm trying to think what you could do to, I guess, just accept the fact that, call the doctor and say you're not going to make it and reschedule the appointment. I don't know. That's all I can think of.
So that's what I could have, and that's a great idea. And that's what I could have done once my monitor's like crying, and that's how I could have calmed things down, right? But even before that, there were definitely some things I could have done to manage the stressors that could have been controlled. I could have checked my GPS. Is there traffic? And that would have maybe taken me off the highway, and then that would have been better planful problem solving. I could have called the kiosk to see if they have the pods that I'm looking for. That would have been good planful problem solving, because they would have said no, and I probably would have never left the house. So the idea of planful problem solving is checking for stressors that we can control and doing that to help manage the stress level. So analyze the problem, make a plan based on the analysis, and execute the plan. Every specific problem needs its own specific plan, right? So this trip to the kiosk, specific things. The plan does not deal with the stress caused by the problem, right? So now that I got all those things that I didn't plan for that went wrong, I'm going to need to put some completing the stress response cycle into my day. So now that I've gone through this, I need to maybe do some meditating or some coloring or some finger breathing, right? To manage this stress. But there's a lot of stress I could have planned for and avoided. But what about the stressor I couldn't control? I couldn't control that traffic at the end. I didn't check the GPS, and once I'm in the traffic, there's nothing I can do, right? So this is where we can take this positive reappraisal. So this is an idea that says, if there's a stressor I can't control, like traffic I can't get out of, I can take this opportunity I can take the difficulty and look at it as an opportunity. Now, there's two types of people, right? There's optimists and pessimists. One's not better than the other, although there's some data to suggest that there's, different things that happen with those different types of worldviews. But generally, if you're an optimist, you're going to stay an optimist. And if you're a pessimist, you're just going to stay that way. So in the story of being caught in traffic that I cannot control, an optimist might have said, I expect good things, so difficulty is temporary. And I'll look for the silver lining and all that jazz, right? Like, there's silver linings and possibilities are endless. So in that story, I might have said, I really love my podcasts, and this is a time to catch up on ones that I've missed. Nothing I can do about it. I'm going to make the best of it. A pessimist might have said, I expect difficulties, so of course there's going to be traffic, but I'll acknowledge the opportunity anyways, even though it's tough. Well, it's podcast time. I guess it's time to learn something. So either way that you tend to sort of react to difficulty, you can see this as an opportunity. So that's what positive reappraisal is about. And I spelled positive wrong. I just decided that the I's wanted to be together. They were lonely. So it's positive reappraisal. So any questions about this? Any thoughts or ideas? I know this is a lot of information, so I want to just sort of leave it here. We can move on, and you'll get the PDF so you can come back to this. But any questions or thoughts? It's a big idea.
Yeah, can you give us another example, maybe a simpler example than that story, and tell us what the parts are?
Sure.
Just the simple stress.
Yeah.
Like you can't meet a deadline at work. You're
right. Okay.
Important,
So-
you're going to be needed or
right.
something.
So the goal was to meet the deadline, and things came, and you did all the planful problem solving. You put it on your calendar so you wouldn't forget, and you didn't. You worked on it. You had, a team meeting so that everybody, you were trying to control the process of the project as it moved. So you did the planful problem solving. Things popped up, you managed them, but something came up. Heather got COVID and couldn't do her part, and nobody can control for that. So a positive reappraisal approach would have said, all right, we're not going to meet the deadline. Do we want to take an optimistic view of this? We've got a little more time to gather resources. Or we're going to take a pessimistic view of this and say, it really stinks that we have more time, but maybe we can readjust the strategy so that we have a little bit more information about part of it. So the positive reappraisal is saying there's something in this difficulty that we can pull out of it, use our wise owl, our prefrontal cortex, because we've managed the barking dog. We've said, to Carrie's point, we let the boss know this isn't going to come in on time. So we've managed that piece of it, and now we're going to do a positive reappraisal. I think that's the step that we often miss because we just don't think about it in terms of there's this other thing that we can do, right? So we sit in the traffic and just fume. We look at the missed deadline and we just berate ourselves or our team members or our coworkers or the boss who, this is an opportunity to skill build, name the skill, and put it in our toolbox. So we've got this positive reappraisal skill that we can pull out of the toolbox and say, oh yeah, nothing I can do about this. This is a stressor I cannot control. But in order to manage my monitor, I can do this. Now we're gonna dive into positive reappraisal a little bit more with the next slide. But did that help, Carrie?
Yes, that's perfect. That helped a lot. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Anybody else? All right, if something comes up, let me know. We'll move on to. So within positive reappraisal is this idea of changing the expectancy. Because whatever we do to manage the monitor and to use positive reappraisal skill, there's still going to be a right? We're still going to be bummed out because remember, the monitor joy is just like, goal, but we didn't make it. So what do you do about that feeling, right? Okay. Option number 1, we can redefine winning. So for me in that story, winning was I got the pods that I wanted in 1 hour and I was drinking my favorite coffee and made it to the doctor. But it didn't happen. So I can redefine winning. A standard relationship with winning, I would say, well, I'll succeed eventually, but it will go slowly, be difficult, I'll need help, right? The project at work, we didn't meet the deadline. It made for some difficulty, but we'll get there eventually. We did positive reappraisal, we reassigned the workload, we let the boss know, and we'll make it eventually. Or we can have a non-standard relationship and focus on incremental goals within the overall goal that will achieve themselves. So we can I call this like the drop back and punt if you're a football fan. You're going to kind of drop back and say, well, we didn't meet the goal and bring the entire project in on time, but we can bring these 2 micro goals in on time and then take the other 3 and say we'll bring those in at another time. So it's sort of redefining winning and saying, well, we partially won and we'll finish the winning later. Any questions about that? Again, I know these are big concepts and that's why we took our time to get here. And it may take a little time for this to sink in. There's option number 2, and I actually really like option number 2. Option number 2 is to redefine failing, right? So we didn't get the project in on time, and we redefine that. And we say, I love this quote by Dirk Gently. It says, I rarely end up where I was intending to go, but often I end up somewhere that I needed to be. So if I'm looking at my story of getting the coffee pods, I didn't get back in time, But man, that podcast that I got the time to listen to helped me with exactly the problem I was facing. Or we didn't get that project in on time, but that extra week, we learned some new valuable material that changed the entire project. There's two really good examples of this. And the reason there's Post-it notes there is because there's one way to look at this with Post-it notes. A lot of folks don't know that the inventor of Post-it notes was actually, his goal was to create the stickiest glue on the planet. Like glue that would never let go. Gorilla Glue times 12. It failed miserably, but it became the backing of Post-it notes. The glue was not very sticky, actually. It was moderately sticky and is perfect for Post-it notes. So the inventor did not end up where he thought he would, but he ended up somewhere immensely better. And then our final example of this is our dear Hillary, who did not become the 45th president of the United States, but her run for president created the next cycle of elections where more women than ever were elected to office. So her goal was not met, but a different goal, one that nobody saw coming, was amazing. So these are the options, right? We can say it was failure, but was it? We redefine failing. Now, we need the wise owl to do these things, right? So that's why learning about completing the stress response cycle, learning about that barking dog, and having compassion are really key, because we can't get to these complicated ideas when we don't feel safe. All right, any thoughts about any of that information? That was a lot of information. If it feels like you're sort of grasping at steam, like, I don't got it. I don't got it. That's okay. This information will be there for you to come back to. And I feel like the more I process it and digest it, the more it feels like I have these solid tools in my toolbox.
And this is Carrie. I think the more we look at it again with things we're facing and relate it to what we're going through, then it'll start to make more sense and be more usable for us.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody have a question? I'm going to slow down a little bit. We've got a few more minutes.
Nothing is in the chat.
Okay.
Everybody speak up if you have something you want to say or a question.
So that was a lot of information, and I'm happy to go back over anything, or, you know, if you've got an example of something in that you're facing right now, a stressor that's creating stress that you're not sure how to manage it, and you're willing to be vulnerable and share it, we can see if we can apply some of these techniques and work it through, if anybody wants to do that. I can't promise I'll have the answer, but we can try. All right, if anybody, let me see. I am more the pessimist, but can see how the other can work. So Renee, you know, that's so, thank you so much for sharing that. And I appreciate your vulnerability there. Please know that I think pessimism is fantastic. I think the pessimists are the realists among us. And we really need that perspective. I think it keeps us grounded, and it's very healthy. So there's nothing wrong with keeping that perspective and using it with the technique of positive reappraisal, but still staying with that more realistic worldview. It's not not to be confused with toxic positivity, like, oh, I've got to find a silver lining in everything and there's got to be something great. It's not about changing your personality. I think that would be a real tragedy. It's about knowing yourself and saying, okay, I typically sort of tend to see the realistic view on things, but I can still skill build and create that habit in my brain that helps me to see I pushed through the difficulty and there was something that I could assign positive meaning to. Does that help? I don't want you to feel judged in any way.
No, that helps to rethink it, as opposed to just like, this happened and I should have thought ahead. But then you have to retrain your brain on thinking sometime.
Absolutely. You know, I love when people are vulnerable and share that kind of stuff, because it brings up you. I'm a big user of the word should, and I think, you know, we're so quick to use that word, and I have challenged myself to really notice when I'm shoulding. And a friend of mine, a teacher of mine, uses a great story to help really understand why shoulding is just something you want to, if you have the bandwidth, to notice your shoulding and see if you can shut it down a little bit. So he tells this story about having a cat, and he had this little area rug in the kitchen, and the area rug, and we can all relate to this, he didn't have any sticky backing, right? So the area rug moved really easily. And every morning or sometime during the day, the cat would settle down onto this little rug and use it and jump onto the counter where his cat food was. And where the rug was placed and the amount of lift that the cat needed, whenever the cat would jump, of course, the rug would shoot backwards and not give the cat much traction, right? So you can see this in your head, right? The cat's jumping, the rug is shooting, and the cat just makes it onto the counter. This has happened for months and months and years. So this teacher of mine decides he's going to help the cat out one day and get some of that like rug backing, you know, the sticky stuff, and cuts it, puts it under the rug. Of course, the cat doesn't know that there's now stuff under the rug. So the next day, cat gets himself onto the rug and launches, and of course, whammo, right into the cabinet, splat, cat, right? The rug goes nowhere, and the cat gets all this lift and traction. Now, it's a great funny story because it didn't work out very well for the cat. Cat was unharmed. But what I love about the story is my teacher says, you know, when we're shoulding, we're on a rug with no backing. We're not really pushing against anything real. And so we don't get very much traction. Will it should've, I shoulda, they should, this should, and it's all very like, there's not much there, because shoulding isn't real. You know, we can beat ourselves up about, well, I shoulda, and I shoulda, and I shoulda. We didn't, or they didn't, or it doesn't. And when we can get rid of the shoulds, it's like we are launching off of a rug with some backing on it, right? We're staying in the present. We're staying in the real. I'm going to get some lift off of this because I'm staying based in reality. So that helped me to feel like it was kind of fun to notice my shoulding and keep myself on a solid rug with some backing out there so that my effort really gets me somewhere instead of not very far. I love that story. It really helps me to feel optimistic about my shoulding. All right. So we will do our last little activity here. So the wise owl breathing is just a nice way to tie in the wise owl and the guard dog that we learned about our brain and use it as a way to ground ourselves, move through the stress response cycle using movement, using breath, and you can really do it anywhere as long as you're feeling up to it, right? So if you feel like you want to stand up, great. I'm going to stand up when we do this. I'll probably go out of frame, but that's okay. You can also just do this staying seated. So if you want to make sure you've got a little bit of room around you, make sure you've got room for your arms to expand like the wings of an owl. So we'll do it first staying seated twice, and then we'll do it standing up. So as always, we're going to find our feet, maybe come forward in our chair a little bit, feel really grounded, and our arms are going to come out to the side, and we're going to inhale, look up, spread our wings, like that wise owl. Spread the fingers, reach up, look up, and then exhale, bring the wings down and look down, chin to chest. Exhale. Let's do it again, staying seated. Inhale, spread the wings, arms all the way up, spread the fingers, feel that spiciness in between the fingers, and then exhale it down, chin to chest, look down, feel all that beautiful movement. And now we can take it a step further if we like. When we inhale, we can stand up, wise owl, look up, stretch, and wise owl down, have a seat. And then up. Press into your heels, push down, and exhale, bring it down. When you sit down, you might want to look left and right like that wise owl. You could add that piece in. Beautiful. Yeah, any little movements that might come. Shake the shoulders, shake the feathers, shake the wings. Excellent, excellent. I love that one. And then here's our resources page again. I left it the same. These are some great resources. I wanted you to have it again. And I'm going to stop sharing so we can have maybe a moment to come back. Hi, everyone. And we've got a couple of minutes. If there's any comments or questions, I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. This was really great. I really enjoyed it. I really like the analogy is going to stick with me forever. The wise old owl here and the dogs barking here, because just these days it seems like there's a lot of dogs barking and with all the stressors in life. So just to bring that back here and strategies to get rid of those barking sounds was very helpful.
Yeah.
And again, I really enjoy that because it's quick and easy. So thank you.
You're so welcome. And I love Carrie's technique. And I you know, just like, oh, I'm going to answer that email. Oh, I'm going to finger breathe.
Right.
Before
I like this too because it forces you to do 10 of them or 5 or whatever versus saying, okay, I'm going to do some heavy breathing, and you start and you do get maybe 2 and it's like, no, I want to do that email. But it forces you to finish off, you know, all 10 of them to really calm down.
Agreed.
And you can never just stop in the middle, right? I mean, you just can't.
You can always do whatever you need. So even if you just needed 2 of them, that's fine. You got to do what you need. For sure. All right. This was so terrific. I love being with you guys. This was really fun. Thank you so much for letting me share this information with you. I'm looking forward to Wednesday. My friend Sunny will be joining me as well from the Sexual Assault Crisis Services at the YWCA, and we will be offering 45 minutes of just a little bit of chair yoga and then pranayama, which is some relaxation breathing. Really great ways to connect with that barking dog, soothe the poor guard dog, and invite the wise owl to come back and land and guide us through all of our tools for managing stressors.
Great. Well, I think I have a new way of dealing with my dog now. I'm not going to just yell at him. Because I think when he barks and then I yell at him to stop, he thinks I'm barking along with him.
Exactly.
So yeah. So but now I realize I know what I have to do now. So that's going to help me with my dog. Thank you, Heather.
That's great. Well, and just I like it because it helps us to remember to be compassionate with ourselves. You know, a barking dog is doing nothing other than their job. And, you know, our brain, this amygdala is really just doing its job, and we can increase the stress when we get stressed out about the stress response, you know, but if we can bring that sense of awareness, that sense of self-allyship, wow, that's a game changer. And that's what self-compassion is all about. So maybe we'll get the chance to visit that and do some more learning.
Yes, I really hope you can share all about the self-compassion at some point when you're ready to do that. I thank you so much, Heather,
Thank
for
you.
all this. It's been wonderful. And
My
yeah, I hope
pleasure.
you guys are going to join on Wednesdays, the next 3 Wednesdays, and tell your friends too. I mean, this is such great information. I hope people are watching the video, so even though they didn't come today, I keep posting those videos. So tell your
Thank
friends,
you.
people in your offices, please watch the videos and come take these sessions because it really is practical, things you can do to really reduce that stress, and everybody's got it.
And Carrie, would you mind just before everyone goes? I know we're done, but if Carrie shares, if you're okay with Carrie sharing your emails, I would love to reach out and just see if folks can give me a little bit of comment about how what they found useful, because we are trying to offer this to other organizations, and it really is helpful when participants can testify that this was worthwhile. If you did not find it worthwhile, or there are things that you think we could do better, please, please, please include that. So I'll include that in the email as well, a little survey. So that'd be awesome. Have a fabulous, sparkling, amazing day. Love your dog and tend to your owl.
Thank you, Heather.
Take care, friends. Thanks, Heidi.
Bye.
If you want to
Thank
unmute and say
you,
goodbye. Bye. Thanks, Carrie. I gotta run. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.